Back in the 1990s, my friend Jason and I loved fishing for striped bass at the three big lakes and Los Banos. I remember one morning, we went out early to the lake. When we got there, we unload our fishing gears and start walking on the cemented road on the side of the lake. On the right side was a little wooded area. On the left side is the lake. From where we parked to our fishing spot takes about a 20-minute walk. The fish wasn't biting that morning, so Jason moved further down. I can still see him from where I was. It was cold, so I didn't want to move around too much. As the sun rises, the fog begins to disappear. I remember I got the first bite. As I was fighting the fish at the end of the line, I looked towards Jason because I want him to bring me the net so I can scoop the fish once I reel it to shore. When I glance at Jason, I see him standing on a big white rock and smoking a cigarette. His face appears to be a bluish color, and his lips appears to be big and swollen. I kept looking at Jason as I continued to try and reel the fish onto shore. No matter how much I looked at him, he appears to have a dead person's face. I thought to myself that maybe it's just the shadow of his hat that makes him appear that way. Then my line feels loose. I don't feel the fish pulling on the other end anymore. Then I said out loud, "Ah, shoot, the fish got away." He heard me, so he turns to look at me and said, "Really? You've got a bite?" "Yeah, I was gonna tell you to bring me the net, but never mind." I was looking straight at his face when I said this, and he appears to be normal. Maybe I was just seeing things, I thought to myself. Right around 10 in the morning, every time I glance at Jason, he appears to have a dead person's face, a bluish, swollen face. I grabbed my stuff and moved closer to him. When I got closer, he appears to be normal looking. I did not say anything to him, but I did mention to him that since the fish aren't biting, maybe we should go home. But he still wants to stay. We actually end up staying for the whole day. I remember it was right around sunset when a big fish was pulling on one of Jason's rod and almost dragged it into the lake. He managed to get a hold of it and start fighting the fish at the end of the line. From afar, we can see the striped bass jumping out of the water 2 times. As Jason got it closer to shore, the fish wasn't fighting anymore. Jason then drags the fish right in front of us, and that thing that he hooked wasn't a fish. It was an empty white body bag. On our way home, we both confirmed to each other that we did see the big striped bass jump out of the water 2 times. We tried to rationalize that maybe the big fish got away, and then the line got hooked onto the white body bag. After that little conversation, I remember what I saw during the morning. So I told him about how his face looks to me in the morning. Being raised in a shamanism household, we both knew that what happened that day were bad omen. When we got home, Jason told his parents about what happened that day. His parents were concerned, so they invited a shaman over that weekend to do a shamanic ritual. A shaman is like a messenger between the living and the spirit realm. After the shaman's done with the ritual, this is what he said to Jason's parents. Jason's soul likes to wander off. When his soul doesn't stick to his body, other spirits around the area will try to possess his body. That's why he appears like a dead person to his friend. The area where they fish has a lot of spirits. The shaman then did a soul calling ritual. It's a ritual to call the soul back into Jason's body. The shaman then tied a red string to Jason's left wrist to protect him from evil spirits. After that, he advised Jason to stay home for at least a month before going out to fish again. After about a week, one night he called me and asked if I want to go fishing with him in the early morning. I told him that I can't go because I have to work. Then I reminded Jason about what the shaman said. I guess Jason's fishing addiction was taking over at that point and he didn't want to believe what the shaman said. The next day he went fishing alone early in the morning. Right around noon, two guys in a boat found him floating close to shore where he usually fished. According to the investigation, there was no foul play. His body has no bruise or wound. They're not sure if he slipped and fell into the water, because that area where him and I usually fish have big rocks on the edge. It's actually deep in that area. His death was strange. They don't know what happened. When I went to the morgue with Jason's family, Jason's looks unrecognizable to his family, but they knew that it was him because he had a red string on his left wrist. To me, he looks exactly like the morning when I was out fishing with him. Bluish skin, swollen face and lips. I thought I was only seeing things that morning when I was out fishing with him, but maybe I was actually seeing something else. I don't know. When I was 6 years old, some family of our church went up to camp in the high mountain of Sierra Nevada. I don't remember which part exactly since I now live in NC, but I remember we went camping there a few times. The high Sierra has hundreds of little lakes, ponds, and streams. One of my favorite things to do was trout fishing the little streams that are very shallow. I love fishing for those little trouts. When we got there on Friday, it was very fun. We got to watch some of our church members getting baptized, and the water was cold even though it was the middle of the summer. Later that day, after we set up camp, some of us kids along with my father and another man in our church group went fishing up the stream. It was nice and beautiful. The waters were very clear, and you can even see the little fish swimming around. Some of us kids caught some little trouts that evening. The next morning when I woke up, I was watching us catching fish on my dad's camcorder. Then my dad asked me if I want to go fishing. I was excited. My dad said it's cold, so to wear some warm clothes. My dad also told me to pack a few bananas in my bag. My dad and I went fishing downstream this time, and it were just the two of us. We came to a little creek that is very shallow with big white rocks on the side. I was following my dad, and then I stopped to fish here and there. That morning I caught two little fish, and I put them in my bag. My dad was about several big rocks in front of me, and I saw him caught a rainbow trout. Then I saw him put the fish in his bag. Then he left his bag and jacket on a big white rock. It was still cold, but somehow he crosses the shallow creek to the other side. I want to follow him too, so I put my backpack down next to his things and crossed the creek to the other side too. When I got out of the creek, I saw him continue walking, so I was following him. When he stops to fish, I stop to fish too. He's not too far ahead of me. Then when he goes, I go after him. Then I noticed that he starts going away from the creek. I started following him, but he did not wait for me. He would turn back a few times to make sure that I'm still okay. Then he just continued walking. I got tired after a while, so I shouted to him that my legs hurt. Then I sat on a rock and saw him walk away into the forest. I got up and started following him again, but by this time I realized that maybe that wasn't my dad. Plus, I don't even know where he went. I was a little scared, so I started walking back. I just followed the sound of running water until I found the creek or the stream again. I continued walking upstream for a while. Then up ahead where I crossed the creek earlier, I saw some of our church members and my parents standing around there with two park rangers. When they saw me, my mom and dad was so happy they crossed the creek over to my side, and my mom was crying and lecturing me at the same time. When we got back to camp, they said I'd been gone for 2 days. It was already Monday and I was lost on Saturday morning. I thought I was only gone for a few hours, but everyone said I'd been gone for 2 days. They were not joking. They were planning to leave on Sunday, but they have to stay over because I was lost. I was so confused. According to my dad, he was fishing, and then when he turns back to look at me, I was gone. He only saw my bag on a white rock, but I was gone. It was so strange. Back at our camp, I went inside our tent. I saw my bag in there. I opened my bag because I remember I put 2 little fish in there, but it looks like my dad already took them out. The bananas I packed was still in there though. So when I took the bananas out, the bananas already had black spots on them. That's when I believed that maybe I'd been gone for 2 days like they said, because I remember packing the yellow bananas when they have no black spots. A question I still ask myself till this day is, if I was gone for 2 days like they said, then how come there was no night during the time I was gone? My family flew from Thailand to San Diego, California back in the 1980s. I was born July 17, 1984. After I was born, my family moved to Minnesota. When I was a little kid, I always get sick all the times. During that time, my family were still very religious, so they got a shaman to do some shamanic ritual for me. My parents wanted to know why I'm always so sick. They want to know whether or not everything is okay with my soul. The shaman told my parents that my soul is sad, and my soul always wanders off. That's why I'm always sick. I don't remember much about my childhood, but my parents said I always preferred to be alone. They also told me that I'm a greedy child, and I wouldn't share any toy or candy with any of my siblings. When I was 12 years old, if I don't go to school, then I usually just stay in my room and draw pictures. Ever since I was 12 years old, I kept having this weird dream at least 4 or 5 times a year. It's always the same dream. In this dream, I'm a married man. I have a wife and a little 4 years old daughter. I dreamed that we were crossing a muddy river to the other side with other Hmong people in a small wooden boat. We didn't know that the water was flowing so fast in the middle of the river. When we got there in the middle of the river, our little boat flipped and everyone fell into the muddy river. I was able to hold on to the boat, but when I see that my wife and kid was being swallowed by the river, even though I was able to hold on to the boat and I can't get to the other side, I just let myself go and let the river swallows me too. I don't know why I keep having this repetitive dream. I was a loner and an introvert. I don't date any girl. When I'm in my 20s, all I do is just work, and then when I come home, I lock myself in my room. When I was 22, I started to go fishing alone. I don't know why, but inside of me, there's something that makes me want to die. There's so many times that I thought of driving my car into a lake or the river. I don't know why. I always have these thoughts. Sometimes when I'm out fishing alone, as I wait for the fish to bite, I will look at the lake. If the lake is smooth on the surface with no waves, it makes me very emotional. I would think to myself, this seems like a very nice place to die. I know that I have some mental health issues, but if anyone tells me I need to go see a doctor, it always makes me so angry at that person. I hate socializing with people. That's why if I'm not in my room, then I'm out fishing alone. When it was my 26th birthday, my siblings wanted to do a party for me, but I told them not to. I just want to go fishing. That day I went fishing at a lake. I was on my little canoe. There were some Hmong family that were out playing and swimming, so I fished further away from them. I caught 2 fish that day before I heard screaming. It was from the shore where the Hmong family were playing. I saw a little girl in a pink life jacket being dragged from shore. She was in the deep and everyone was just screaming for help. I paddled over to the little girl. When I got there, I saw her life jacket was just barely keeping her up. It was on her loosely, so I grabbed her and tried to pull her up onto my canoe, but there was too much weight on one side, so my canoe flipped and we both fell back into the water. I grabbed her by her life jacket and pulled her. We swam back to an area where I can feel my feet touching the floor. Then I carried the little girl in my 2 arms. Her mother and all of her aunties were there on shore. Her mother was crying as I handed her back. When I look at the little girl's mother, I feel this deep connection as if I've known her for a long time. But that was my first time seeing her. I feel like something inside of me changed ever since that day. I no longer dream of that same dream anymore. I also start going out and hanging out with my cousins since I have no friends. Then finally at the age of 32, I got married to my first girlfriend. Hmong are a very superstitious group of people. Some of them believe that the reason I keep having the same dream is because in my last life, I couldn't save my family. I couldn't save my wife and my little girl. They believe that when I was reincarnated, I carry that memories with me. That's why I'm always sad and prefers to be alone, until the event of my past life repeats itself. When the event repeats itself, I was able to save the little girl. That somehow freed my soul from the guilt that I carry with me from my past life. For some strange reasons, that actually make a lot of sense to me. But then again, that was just the usual Hmong superstition.